Hello everybody out there in Lone Wolf land. My name is JMO and I am the in-house GoPro expert at the Lone Wolf. I am going to quickly run you through the best, most stable, most usable preset for the new GoPro Hero 8 when it comes to everyday mountain bike shredding. Now, I want to be very clear here. I'm not here to tell you how awesome the Hero 8 is. It is that good. What I'm here to tell you and explain to you is we have found a setting that works fabulous for everyday down and dirty mountain bike ripping and gives you the most usable accoutrement from the new Hero 8, because there are over 300 different setting possibilities when you actually take into consideration all of the different hyper smooth, boost this, lens that, 4K, 2.7, and each one of them affects the camera's ability to use some of the other functions. I know that might have gotten just a little bit confusing, but you can't have everything in 4K 60 frames per second because you're asking the camera to give you 4K 60 frames per second. So sometimes you have to dumb down the resolution to gain stabilization, or vice versa, depending on what you're trying to do. So this is a setting that we have found, again, for everyday down and dirty mountain bike ripping. This setting works really well, and I'm going to run you through why, and we're going to go through each setting individually, and then I'm going to send you home and send you out onto the trail ready to rip. Okay, so first and foremost, let's take a look at the camera up close here. When you first turn your camera on, the factory sends it out with four presets that it comes with out of the factory, and I just leave those presets there, and I choose to actually add and create new presets. So if you go into your camera's presets, you'll actually have to swipe up from the bottom till you see a little plus, and then you can hit that plus and add a new preset. So I'm going to hit that plus, add a new preset, and I'm just going to let it auto-populate, because if you manage the presets with your app, it actually makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to quickly hit the check marks and let this preset just be what it is, and it's called a custom. But now I'm going to actually put my camera down, and I'm going to go here to my phone, my mobile device, and we are going to control this camera and set the preset. So there's the preset I just created. Down here on the bottom, it's called custom. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to go over to the little pencil, hit the pencil, and all the preset things pop up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the resolution at 1440. Now, why am I choosing 1440? Okay, well, let me stand up straight here and take a look right at you, and I'm going to explain why I am using 1440. The reason that we're using 1440 is because 1440 is a 4x3 capture. So it's the exact dimensions, or not exact dimensions, but the mimicked 4x3 dimensions of the sensor that's in the camera itself. So you're using the full sensor when it gives you the 4x3 or 1440. Now granted, there's 2.7K 4x3 and 4K 4x3 available in the menu, but you don't want to use those. And the reason being, it's an awful lot of resolution and an awful lot of data if you're just going to be sending stuff out to Instagram. So it's going to slow down your data transfer. It's going to give you these big, massive files. Just not really worth it unless you're actually trying to go out to make the super duper, super clip movie for Brandon Semenuk and friends or something. But for everyday down and dirty shooting, it's just more than necessary. Also, by shooting 1440, you're not asking the camera to do too much, so you're able to take use of maximum stabilization, the new boost stabilization, as well all the different lens options, the digital lens options that the camera will provide, as well as some other little sparkly accoutrement that the GoPro engineers have created. So I'm going to actually use this Stuntman harness that we got from evogimbals.com, and it's by far the best mounting system for chest and off the back, because you can wrap it around your backpack. It's highly adjustable. Again, we got this from evogimbals.com, and I'll showcase some of the features of this as we move forward. So back to 1440. The other thing about 1440 that's really cool is that you can run the GoPro 8 vertically, and it will record vertically in case you're going to Instagram stories or otherwise. So that's pretty cool about 1440. So it kind of gives you that 4x5 fit into use maximum real estate on your Instagram feeds. So 1440. Okay, let's hop back to the settings here. Frames per second. I choose 60 frames per second. Now you can choose 120 frames per second if you want to for maximum slow motion, but truth being told, when you go to 120, you're doubling the amount of data. So if you really think you got time to deal with that extra data, go for it, but I prefer 60 frames per second. Also, a lot of mountain biking happens in the dark, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, but by shooting higher frame rates, you disable your ability to shoot in bad light. The lens, I'm going to start it off on wide, but there is a linear and a narrow option, but we're going to revisit that with the on-screen shortcuts, but I start it by default on wide. Hyper smooth, you want to blast your hyper smooth to boost because that boost stabilization is really that good and it is that amazing. Short clip length, I'm going to leave off. Low light, I'm going to leave off. Bit rate by default is going to sit at low. If you have any sort of newer device, an iPhone 8 and above, and I'm not sure how Androids work, but if you have any sort of decent equipment, run your bit rate on high. It just actually produces a better image. However, if you're running older technology, you might have to run that bit rate on low just to enable the footage to move back and forth quicker. And again, we will revisit that in the on-screen shortcuts, but I will change it to high. The shutter, I will leave on auto. EV comp, I leave on 0. The ISO minimum, I leave at 100, but the ISO max, by default, starts at 1600. I'm going to bring that down to 100 and crush these ISOs at 100. I'm going to talk more about these when we get to the on-screen shortcuts. And I'm going to scroll down. ISO max 100. White balance, I leave on auto. Sharpness, I choose to leave on high. But this is more of an artistic feeling. Some people think the GoPro is too sharp, so they sometimes will go to medium. That is completely up to you. Color, I leave on GoPro color. Raw audio, I leave off. Wind, since we already know that we're going to be in windy conditions and rumbling down a trail, I just give the computer a little bit of extra break in decision making, let it focus on its stabilization instead, and I turn that wind to on. Okay, on-screen shortcuts. Now this is pretty important. The on-screen shortcuts are these little shortcut bugs that you have on the side here of your screen. In the lower left, by default, it's always going to show the lens. Leave that as is. On the lower right, the first thing I like to add is the ISO max. In the upper left, I like to add the bit rate. And then in the upper right, I like to add clips. So when I look at my camera, in the upper left, I have bit rate, high or low. And then in the lower left, I have my lens options, wide, linear, and narrow. In the upper right-hand corner, I have my clip meter, which I can shoot 15 and 30-second clips, meaning when I start the shot, it will start recording, and when the shot has reached 30 seconds, it will automatically stop the shot and close down. So it's basically shot control. In the bottom right, I have the ISO that I just added, and the ISO is the sensor's sensitivity to light. I usually never like to bring it up above 800, but keep in mind that the ISO actually controls, in sort of a backdoor kind of way, controls your shutter speed. So let's cut up to my stand-up here. What I mean by the ISO affecting your shutter speed is you're going to have your best color and darks and saturations and your best image when your ISO is really low. So you crush it at 100 in daylight. If it's graybird but you can still see shadows, ISO 200 is going to be all right. ISO 400, if you're not really being able to see shadows anymore, you're going to want to get that ISO up to about 400. If you're reaching ISO 800, anything beyond ISO 800, you're going to start to get a little bit of grainy footage. And again, the great thing about the GoPro is what you see on the screen is what you get. So as you adjust that ISO, you will see the screen become brighter and softer. ISO also is like I said, in a backdoor way, is controlling the auto shutter speed. So if you have your ISO really low at 100 in dark conditions, your shutter speed is going to be pretty slow and your imagery could end up being pretty blurry. So the higher your ISO, essentially the faster the shutter speed can go, and faster shutter speed is going to give you crisper images. Okay, I want to talk about the 1440 again and this cool evogimbals.com Stuntman harness. Now, the thing that's so cool about this is it has a swivel mount on it. So you can actually turn the harness sideways or turn the mount sideways. So for Instagram stories and whatnot, you can run your GoPro vertically. Of course, I'm having it getting the tabs in there. There we go. So you can run it on the chest mount with your GoPro vertical, which is pretty cool. Or you can, of course, spin it upside down, or you can spin it right side up. This mount is really stiff, got big burly straps. You can get it around to the back side of your backpack for shooting back at your friends. So that's one of the benefits about the Stuntman and then the 1440. Last but not least, I do want to talk about the lens options. So 1440 with boost on and with the lens on wide is unbelievable stabilization. You can shake the heck out of this thing. Now the cool thing is, if I cut to my second camera here, let's see here. Let's get my second camera going. There in the bottom I have my lens. I can switch to narrow. And so when you're, let's get up my stand-up camera here. If I'm shooting a handheld of my friends coming by on the trail, I will switch to the narrow lens, which basically pops the zoom in about twice and you get no fisheye. So it's almost like sort of equivalent to the phone on your camera. And then when I go back to BOV, I'll switch the lens to wide. So that is the ultimate go-to quick and dirty mountain bike shred setting. Okay, thanks for watching, and enjoy your new Hero8, hopefully with a Stuntman harness that you got at evogimbals.com. Bam.